In a previous video, I described the production of a Celtic ring jig that I made out of MDF to work in conjunction with the Accu-Slice bandsaw system. After the video was released, we had a number of customer requests inquiring about the availability of this system. As a result, we're now developing a commercial version of the Celtic ring jig, which we're calling the Accu-Slot. This is a prototype version of the Accu-Slot Celtic ring jig, which we'll be introducing at the AAW show in Kansas City in late June. After some additional customer feedback at that meeting, we anticipate that a final version of the Accu-Slot will be available in the fall of 2017. The Accu-Slot system has several unique features. First, the main table is constructed from a sheet of 5/16 thick aluminum plate. It has 4 roller bearings mounted on its base, and each ride effortlessly on the Accu-Slice system. This all-metal construction provides for a quality system that is much more accurate than my MDF prototype. It contains a 2.5-inch high fence constructed from aluminum extrusion onto which can be mounted a variety of clamping accessories. The angle of the fence can be adjusted from 30 degrees up to 90 degrees and then clamped in place. The angle for the cut is labeled on the table in 1-degree increments and labeled every 5 degrees. A variety of stops and clamps are currently being designed which will mount on the fence to give the user a wide variety of clamping mechanisms for various sizes of wood. The stop and clamps shown here are just a few of the varieties that will be available in the near future. We've also added 2 handles on the back for the safe pushing of the Accu-Slot system through the bandsaw blade. The system will also include an adjustable stop to limit the travel of the table to prevent the bandsaw blade from cutting completely through the board and into the fence. Another feature of the Accu-Slot is that this rail can be moved either to the left or the right depending on the length of the board for your particular project. These 2 Allen nuts can be loosened with an Allen driver. The rail can be repositioned, tightened back up, and it's all set to run for your project. The process begins by sliding the Accu-Slot system onto the rail on the Accu-Slice system, and then position the Accu-Slice system such that your bandsaw blade slides through the middle of the slot in the Accu-Slot table. And once it's positioned, then lock it in place with the 2 coarse adjustment knobs and then the 2 mag jig clamps. The next thing that needs to be done is to check the bandsaw blade and make sure it's perfectly perpendicular to the Accu-Slot plate. It's very important that this angle be perfect in order that you get accurate cuts for all your projects. This is quite easily done by adjusting the tilt on the bandsaw table, using 2 clamps on the bottom of the table, adjusting the table angle, and then retightening those 2 clamps. After that's done, double check, make sure your clamps are all tight. And next we want to adjust the angle of our system, the angle we want to cut. And this is done by setting the angle with the index system. In this case I'm setting it to 30 degrees. Lock it in place with an Allen driver. And the next thing you want to do is you want to adjust your blade that it doesn't go completely through your board and into the fence. So I have a 100 inch thick spacer here. I slide it up against my blade and then bring my locking stop in place, lock it against the table, and then I remove that spacer. My blade stops 100 inch away from going through the board and completely into my fence. Next we're ready to put our piece of wood onto the system. Loosen my clamps, and then position the wood where I want it to cut. There's a stop back here I can use to adjust the position of the wood if I want it high or low in the middle. Once that's set, you lock it in position, and then follow that by using your clamps to lock the board in place. And usually I position these clamps 1 on each side of the path of the blade. And then while I'm locking that, I'm pushing the board against my stop, down against the table, and then against the fence. So pushing it in 3 directions at the same time, and then locking these clamps in place. And they just require a light finger tight clamp just to keep it from moving. After the system's been all set up and calibrated, we're all set to make some cuts. The system board already made one cut in, and I'll be making some more on. So again, I push the board against the stock, against the fence, and then clamp it down in place, pushing it down against the table.